All right, let's roll through some Patriots over-unders for the 2017 season. Some of these set by Las Vegas, others set by me, Kevin Duffy of MassLive.com, Patriots beat writer. Why don't we start with the one set by Vegas by the guys who actually know what they're talking about when they're doing this stuff. They've got the Patriots at over-under 12.5 wins. Before I give my prediction, I will say that that's the highest number entering a season I think I can remember for any NFL team. It's 2 full wins higher than the next teams on the list, Seattle and Green Bay, for this season. So needless to say, the expectations are massive in New England. Look, the Patriots went 14-2 a year ago, not only because they were extremely talented and extremely deep, but because they got pretty fortunate with injuries. Outside of Rob Gronkowski's back, they really didn't have a significant long-term injury the entire season. And Dion Lewis starting on PUP, of course. But this year, probably not going to have the same luck. And you're facing a tougher schedule. They had a pretty easy schedule a season ago. So there are reasons to think they'll go under. It's not a slam dunk that they're going to go 15-1 or 14-2. But this team is just so deep and so talented. And I think they've built a roster where they can withstand an injury here or there because they've got depth at pretty much every position. So I like them over. I like them at 13-3, 14-2 this year. Next one on the list, Patriots over under first loss of the season, Week 7 versus Atlanta. So basically, will they have a loss by Week 7 or will they not? Simple question. I don't think their loss will come against the Falcons in Week 7. I do think they will get tripped up early in the year, either Week 2 at New Orleans. Definitely a difficult place to play, high-powered offense. The team, I think, will be better this year than it was last year. Or Week 5 against Tampa Bay. It's a Thursday night game on the road. I know the Patriots are great. I don't care how good you are. Any road Thursday night game is a difficult one. Tampa Bay is an ascending team with a lot of talent on both sides. Won 9 games a year ago. Tom Brady, over under 38 TDs. He was on pace for 37.3 had he played a full 16-game schedule last year. He did basically all of that without Rob Gronkowski. You had Gronk back, presumably will play more games this season than he did last. You had Brandin Cooks. I think that just, probably gives Brady a few more TDs than he had a season ago. Maybe they, instead of running it inside the 5, they throw a fade to Gronk, they throw a slant. Cooks will probably break at least 1 or 2 65, 70-yard touchdowns. So I think he'll be in the low 40s this year. Speaking of Gronk, we got Gronk over under 10.5 touchdowns on the season. Pretty simple one. Gronk's healthy, he probably goes over. I mean, this is a guy who's averaging basically a touchdown per game throughout his NFL career. Just a mind-boggling statistic for a player who's been in the league since 2010. If he's hurt, he'll go under. And it's really a coin flip with Gronk. You really never know. He's been on the injured reserve 3 of the past 5 years. So it's just very difficult to predict. I will cautiously say over 10.5 touchdowns for Gronkowski. We move to Brandin Cooks receiving yards. I've got him at 1,155 receiving yards as his over-under. That's what he averaged the past 2 years in New Orleans. So he's coming into a situation in New England where they have a lot of options. They really spread the ball around, but it's not all that different than what he had with the Saints. Drew Brees threw it not only to Cooks, he threw it a lot to Willie Snead, to Mike Thomas, to the running backs, to the tight ends. So I think Cooks' numbers this season are probably going to look pretty similar to what he posted with the Saints. I think there's going to be some games where he has 2 catches for 37 yards, and there's going to be other games where he has 6 catches for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, and it's going to be difficult to predict which game is which. So I like Cooks to actually lead the Pats in receiving yards this season, but I like him under 1155. I think he'll be around the 1,100-yard mark, and I think Julian Edelman will be right there as well. And if healthy, Rob Gronkowski will probably be in the 1,000 to 1,100-yard range as well. So they're going to have 3 guys I think will be pretty closely bunched as the leading receiver on the team. Final one, Mike Gillislee. This is the toughest one. Over under 845 yards. Well, let's look at it this way. Gillislee is expected to take Blunt's spot as the between the tackles back. Last year, Blunt carried the ball 299 times. Even he admitted in an interview with Eagles reporters recently that a lot of that was just because of the situation. Tom Brady was suspended 4 games. Jacoby Brissett played 2.5 games. They really ran a lot when Brissett was on the field. And Dion Lewis was out from weeks 1 through 10, so Blount was really the only ball carrier on the team. James White was purely a pass-catching back. So Gillislee's not going to match the number that Blount put up at 299, especially with Dion Lewis healthy and with Rex Burkhead also in the mix as a ball carrier. Gillislee, I do think, if healthy, can carry the ball, say, 210, 215 times. And, you know, if he rushes for 4.2, 4.3 yards a carry, that's going to get him over that 845 mark. So I think he'll check in somewhere around 900. Look, this is a team in the Patriots that they have so many explosive weapons in the passing game, but last year they learned they need to have offensive balance. Offensive balance brought them to the Super Bowl a year ago. They're going to run the ball, even though they can throw it on many teams. They passed 53% of the time last year. They ran 47% of the time. I'd expect them to be in the same range again this season. And if Gillislee is going to be the lead back, I think he barely goes over 845 rushing yards with Burkhead and Lewis picking up the slack behind him.